Here's the thing about strategy. At some point, it has to leave the whiteboard. You can choose the right goal. You can build the perfect future list. You can reverse engineer the path. You can map out the milestones, name all your priorities, and feel incredibly clear about where you're going. But eventually, the plan has to become work. That's where a lot of new entrepreneurs really get stuck because execution is where your idea becomes commitment. All right, so this is the point where you have to stop analyzing and overthinking your strategy and start doing the hard, messy work. Things like buy equipment, write a new page, record a new song, work long hours, follow up, get less sleep, and then get up and do it all over again. And that's what we're talking about today, getting to work. Welcome to Spaghetti to Strategy. I'm Bill Walker, founder of Creators Create, and I'm joined by Greg Lawrence, owner of Impact Marketing and Consulting.
How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not bad. You make it sound so fun and exciting. Owning your own business.
It is fun and exciting.
It is. It is
It's
very
fabulous.
Much. So before we get into it, let's just briefly recap for anybody that wasn't there what we talked about the last couple weeks. First, we talked about choosing something, which is, in my opinion, the most important thing, because if you haven't made a choice, then what are you doing? And then we talked last week about reverse engineering, plotting a path, knowing where you're going to go, what comes next. If you haven't seen those, I encourage you to watch them. So today, as you pointed out, we're going to talk about executing, getting to work, which is important. Doesn't sound fun, but actually it can be.
It's a lot of fun.
I enjoy it. I love my job.
Yeah, it's the process of taking a dream or some abstract idea and, bringing it into fruition.
Absolutely. And there are long days, like you said, there are some days where I feel like I'm just a zombie. But it's so much worth it. It's so worth it. I'd much rather put in a 10 to 12 hour day for myself rather than somebody else. So, and I think most people watching this feel the same way.
I agree. Hey, before we get moving, I want to share part of a really cool comment that we got last week.
Okay.
And all right, and he wrote, I agree that emotion and urgency are not decision points on their own, but they are signals. For me, the challenge is weighing them alongside real constraints, cost, family responsibilities, time deadlines, milestones, and whether a goal still makes sense as my own circumstances change. There's a lot in that little paragraph. Would you like to comment on any of this?
Absolutely. Again, it'd be great to talk to this person face to face and live so I could ask a few questions for clarification. But I will say this. He did mention one thing that I'm going to address. And again, let me just say right at the beginning, I don't know all of the circumstances, but he did mention as his circumstances change. And the one thing I want to point out to everybody, circumstances always change, right? Our lives are always in flux. That's just the nature of being alive. So you got to have a framework. You've got to have something to hedge, to anchor you against those fluctuations that are going to come. I mentioned this. I thought of this earlier. You build a house, you want to have a solid foundation, a solid framework, right? So as the walls go up and everything, if an earthquake hits, storm hits, it might rattle the house. But if your foundation and your frame is strong, you might get a crack here and there. You might break a window, but the house stands, right? You got to look at your goals and your business that way. You've got to have a solid, sound framework, which is what we're trying to help people establish so that when those fluctuations come, you're grounded against them. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you definitely have to be grounded and have a strong foundation. But let's just talk about a circumstance and how they might change, which would require a person to have to completely alter the direction of what they're doing. And I'm going to use me as an example. So right now I have physical piano students. I'm in Phoenix. I want to move to Alaska. They're not coming with me. Yep, yeah, he's sporting the Alaska hat today. That's awesome. And the Alaska shirt. Very cool. Unfortunately, I am not. But I do have them. No, so one of the big reasons for me that doing, the podcast is so important and my create community is so important is so that I can earn income regardless of geography. Where I plan on moving to has a population of, 5,500 people. There isn't the population to support me as a full-time piano instructor. And not only that, my priorities are changing and I don't want to be. I love this being on the internet full-time. So if you have a circumstance like that, then that might be a good reason to reevaluate your goal because it's not going to support you, or your current plan isn't going to support you if you have a major life change like that. Or, if you're a carpet cleaner in town or your pool business and they up and move to Kansas City, are they going to be able to get started there, and how much is it going to cost and all that? So I think there are some situations where you actually have to reevaluate whether or not your goals still make sense. However, if circumstances change because you've decided to become addicted to scrolling, now listen to our show. That's very important.
Yep.
But if you're binge watching Netflix 12 hours or 18 hours on the weekend, that's not a good change. You need to be committed to your goal. Get to work.
And clearly there will be real situations that do require adjustment, but I want to caution anybody listening that planning, rethinking, re-strategizing constantly is not going to work for you at all. That you'll just be perpetually preparing to run a business and never actually running a business. So
you were right. I saw the craziest thing today. It was an Alex Hermosi post on Facebook. And it said that he had a perfect recipe for staying broke. And that is to constantly change what you're doing and never focus on anything.
that'll work.
It's kind of another way of saying you need to choose and be committed. And for the purpose of this comment, we're going to assume that we don't have any life-altering changes that is going to force us to reevaluate our current plan. So right now we're in a season of our lives where life is stable. And if you want to stay broke, change your mind and start a new project every week.
Absolutely.
And I call that shiny object interference.
Exactly. Yep, which we've talked about, and we will talk about it some more.
Oh, it's going to be a never-ending discussion. So should we get into this whole working thing, executing,
yes,
getting things done?
Yeah. You came up with a really good system in your Create OS. Why don't you introduce us to that?
Yeah, so I broke up time into 3 different categories. The first one is a creative or a work block. And that's where you're actually engaged working in your business. You're doing the work. You're writing your book, you're composing new music, you're doing your painting, you're creating your course, all that. You're getting dirty and creating your stuff. And so that's the first block of time. The second block of time is your amplification or marketing block. This is where people get to learn who you are. And if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't matter how good of a product you have. It's going to make you zero money. And it doesn't matter what kind of business this is. This is like all business. If nobody knows you exist, you don't make any money. So you have to schedule time to amplify and get yourself out there. And then the third type of block is the operations block. And that's the time where you're working on your business. You're following up with emails, you're updating your website, you're invoicing people, updating your courses or whatever it is, making your schedule for the next week. And so those are your operations blocks. And so by scheduling that and doing it in advance and having it on a calendar, you don't wake up and go, what am I going to do today? Let me look at my calendar. Well, that didn't get done for Monday. Oh, I didn't do that on Tuesday. You don't want to do that. You want to get organized and planned and look at your calendar and follow it. So what are your thoughts, Greg?
Absolutely. I do want to point out, and this is one thing that I love about this show. Bill comes primarily from a creative, well, not primary. That's
Not
basically.
primarily from a creative point of view.
And I come from more of a small business. Like I said, one of my longest running things was when I had a carpet cleaning business. So when I look at this, for me, the creative or the create work block is going out there. In the case of my carpet cleaning business, cleaning carpets, getting out there and pulling a wand, as we used to call it. Amplification, extremely important, and I'm going to talk ad nauseum about that soon and later. And then operations.
And forever and ever will we be covering amplification.
Yes. For Bill, the bulk of his time is spent in the creative block, right? He's got to write music. Operations, amplification, smaller. But as a carpet cleaning company, my operations were a little larger than Bill's would have been, repairing vans, buying chemical, interviewing new carpet cleaners. I'm not going to bore you. There's a lot more operations than other businesses. So just understand, depending on what your business, you're going to allot that time, but you've got X amount of time, and you've got to make sure that you balance it out and give each portion the time that they need. Do not skip any of them. You cannot not create and just focus on operations and applications. You have nothing to show for it. You cannot just create and work and not tell anybody about it because you want any customers. You can't avoid operations or your business will collapse internally. These are all important. You have to do them all. So anyway.
So I want to address just this a little bit, like the blocks. All right. So when you're a brand new musician, so I'm in the solo piano world, and I've had lots of friends that have gone on to make a full-time living as a solo piano musician. And here's the interesting thing. They all talk about the same thing. When you get into it, you think that you get to spend 80% of your time creating music. And let me tell you, when you spend 80% of your time creating music, that is by far the most fun. There's no disagreement that writing the music and performing is the most fun. However, to make it, eventually they say that they've had to switch, and 80% of their time has to be spent in amplification and operations. So that's probably 60 or 70% of the time in amplification. And, so back in the day when most people ordered things to be shipped, like physical product, operations took a little bit longer because these people had orders from their website and had to take and process the orders and take them down to the post office to then ship them out to customers, which is a whole lot less fun than the creative part of being an entrepreneur. So, if you have a product, you've got a book done, you have a CD done, you have a painting done, you have a course done, you're going to have to reduce your creative blocks by a lot and increase your amplification blocks, or nobody's going to know who you are. And it's not, and don't think because you're not selling that you have an awful product or that people won't benefit from it. And another diversion, shiny object interference at its best. So if you look at regular TV and movies and the radio, do you think that the best music and movies, do you think that the best ones are the ones that are actually produced?
Not necessarily.
Maybe on occasion, right? You get a few good ones, but there's a lot of junk. I mean, how many people have listened to the radio or now streaming or watched TV or go to a movie and go, this was awful? I'm sure we've all done it.
Oh, yeah.
And do you know what the truth? Those shows exist because they had better marketers. They got the word out, so they won, at least in the financial realm.
Yeah. We're going to talk a whole lot about marketing next week.
Oh, good. I'm excited.
And I'm going to try not to dominate that conversation because that is fun for me. Marketing is fun for me. Anyway.
So he says. Oh, there we go. We got to laugh.
Threw me off there. Okay. Well, depending on your business and how much time you're allotting, the bottom line is you've got to spend time creating and working. And one of the first things you got to do, one of the first things, there's a lot you have to do, but you got to decide who your market is, right? And I'm going to go back to carpet cleaning because that's what I like. Bill talks music, I talk brick and mortar. So
That's fine. Brick and mortar people desperately need your help.
you got to decide who you are and who you want to go after, right? So you might think, well, I clean carpets. I'm going to go after anybody that's got carpets that need to be cleaned. Well, there's a big gap there, or a lot of options there, I should say. There are some companies that focus on going after apartment complexes. They get a lot of smaller jobs. You usually get paid less, but an apartment complex will say, hey, come in on this day, park your van. You don't really move it much. You clean 3 or 4 units in a couple of hours, and then you move on, right? So it's quick work. It's steady work. I never liked it. In fact, I did a couple apartment complexes for a while and then decided, I don't want to do this. Our bread and butter was just regular homeowners. But I've got a friend who came into the business and he did what he calls his white glove service. He went after high-end clients only. And where I would have charged maybe $40 to $45 a room, he was charging $80 to $90, about double. And when I asked him, how can you justify that? Well, first of all, the people I go after have lots of money. And their concerns are they've got nice houses. They're concerned about stuff getting taken care of properly, cleaned properly, nothing getting broken. So we go in there and, we put our white booties on and we wipe everything down. We vacuum he did a little bit more service, but for the most part, it was the same type of cleaning that everybody else guys, how he packaged it. And again, we'll get into a lot more of this later, but you got to identify the market you want to go after. Bill, you have a quote you say a lot. I can't remember where you heard it from, but you want to say that was like,
the quote that's if you're trying to market to everyone, you're marketing to no one.
Exactly. And if you don't understand what that means, if I went out there and I was saying, hey, I'll clean your carpets, I'll clean your apartments, I'll clean your studio, I'll clean your business, I'll clean your home, I'll clean your penthouse. If you're telling everybody that has carpets, I can come clean for you, it might sound like you're covering a lot of ground, but what you've done is created white noise. People are going to hear, okay, they're not going to hear it. This is what they're going to hear, right? But if you go after, and let me clarify, this does not mean you can't go after multiple markets. But if you want to put out an ad, and we'll, again, talk about this next week, but for example, if I want to go after high-end clients, we've got, here in the Phoenix area, we've got 2 places. One's called Paradise Valley and then North Scottsdale. If you're not familiar, lots of money there. If I wanted to go after those clients, I would put out ads, or I present myself, I should say, as white glove, we'll just call it, and market to them that way. I could also put out an ad or present myself to other people as I can come in and give you a great value and do a great job. But I'm not going to mix those two together because I'm sending mixed message. Like Bill said, don't market to everybody because then you're marketing to nobody. Pick a niche and market to that. And I personally think you should pick a niche and just focus on that. But if you're just getting started, Bill and I actually talked about this yesterday.
We did.
Just if you're, and again, back to the carpet cleaning business, I'm going to have to pick another one because people are going to get tired of hearing about carpet cleaning all the time. But for today, if I was just starting and I wanted to go after the high-end white glove clients, they're going to be slower to acquire. There's fewer of them, but they will pay a lot better. So in the beginning, I'm going to need to be willing, or I should be willing, to take whatever jobs come to me. And as I build up that high-end clientele, I will slowly decrease my average family, or certainly if I'm doing apartments. When I had my business, those were the first to go. But anyway, I think I beat that to death.
Well, almost. I want to beat it to death a little bit too.
There's one breath left. Bam.
Yeah. Oh no, we're going to beat this to death too. We're going to talk about authors, and okay, unfortunately, yeah, I'm going to pick on my uncle.
See, I'm going to pick on carpet cleaners, and you're going to pick on your uncle a lot.
Yeah,
these are recurring themes you're going to hear.
I'm not going to pick on me. I'm going to pick on someone else because that's what I do. No, so my uncle writes books. obviously, since I said I was going to talk about authors. So the very first book that he published was a little Christmas book, like this thin, and it was with illustrations, and it was for that 3 and 4-year-old, or what he thought was maybe the 3 to 6-year-old group. Big font, really cute story about a teddy bear and Christmas and Santa Claus and stuff. But then he wrote a mystery series for 8 to 12-year-olds. And then he wrote a Christian science fiction book. And then he did a reference books for authors to help them. And so that's 4 different types of books. Like, how do you market to that? The problem is the only 2 books that really had any type of success, the Christmas book for little kids, for the young toddler kids, that actually sold pretty well because he is old, and so he could talk to grandma and grandpa to buy it and read it to their grandchildren. So that kind of worked. And then the reference book for writers, even with Google being able to tell you things, he still sells 1 or 2 copies a month, and he hasn't updated it in like 3 or 4 years. So he's, went to version or the 4th or 5th edition and then just stopped updating it. So he's had that out for a decade and still is earning a little bit of money on it. The mystery series, oh, it's dead. And unfortunately, he never created a market. And the Christian science fiction book, which is really kind of cool, has some very creative physics in it. He didn't really market that to anyone. To anyone. So, a few close friends and family got it, but that's about it. So when you spread yourself across multiple markets simultaneously, it's really hard to gain traction in one.
Yeah, you really have to pick a niche. You got to focus. And this all kind of comes together. Like I said, when we talked about last week, the reverse engineer, creating your roadmap, that's going to kind of help identify, well, when it's time to execute, that means it's time to get to work. We were talking, I think on Monday, Bill and I, and I thought of something. It's like, do you have a business or are you just running a business, right? And what I mean by that is you can spend all your time in operations, for example, running your business, creating your website, creating your course, all of that. But if you don't actually go to work, if you don't do the things to get it out there, you don't have a business. You're just running a business, right? And when I say that, and it might sound like it's the same thing, and I guess it can be, but just understand, having a business means you're doing something that's making you money. Running a business means you're spending a lot of time working, but are you getting anything from it? So Bill, do you want to talk a bit about what we mean by when we talk about operations?
Well, it's interesting, the thing about running a business. There would be some people out on YouTube would say that if you're running a business, the business can survive without you for 2 weeks and you're still making money. So you have systems in place to where you have other people that can help make sure your business continues to run without you. So you have a business. But yeah, if you're not doing
I would
anything.
reword that. That's what I'm saying. If you are running a business, if you are running the business, it's kind of hard to remove yourself. If you have a business,
completely.
that means you've got things in place to where you can remove yourself and the
Yes.
business still runs.
Yes, what
You
he
don't
said.
get caught in this cycle. Yeah, you don't want to get caught in that cycle of if you're not there, it all falls apart. That's tough. Trust me, I know. There was a time when I had my carpet business, I couldn't leave. I couldn't go and do anything. If I left for a week, that was bad news. The first time I tried to go away for a week, when I got home, I realized I got to put better systems in place. I'm too chained to this business. I need some freedom. So anyway, getting sidetracked again. Sorry.
No, but it's good. I mean, it's like me with teaching piano. If I'm not here, if it falls apart.
Yeah.
It's like I don't go, "Hey, hon, can you come teach my students today?" I'm gonna go do something else. It's
Tell your students to teach themselves.
oh, you know what? I do that from time to time. I actually let them play teacher and tell me what to do, or I teach them, or I have them all the time. Hey, you teach me how to play that. It's amazing. It's like the second most motivating thing that I do with people to get them to learn.
aside from the rack and the whips?
Oh no, the first thing is push-ups.
Oh,
If
I
you,
thought
if you
you were
keep, oh no,
five
if you
days.
now if you keep misplaying the same thing, eventually I'm like, cool. If you play that F natural one more time, you owe me a push-up for every time you do it. It generally doesn't take more than 2 or 3 push-ups before they get it right, and then don't ever miss it again. So it's just the threat. I mean, I don't really care if they do well, actually, I do make them do the push-ups if they don't, because they have to honor the agreement. And a lot of times I make the kids set their own punishments. So like I had a 7-year-old or 8-year-old girl who can't do push-ups. So she said her consequence would be 50 jumping jacks. And so last Thursday she came to piano and said, okay, I didn't do this. And I said, cool, you owe me 50 jumping jacks. And she's like, do you want me to do them now or later? I'm like, oh no, right now. And she went ahead and did them. And then anyways, we went through it and she did really well that day. And she doesn't have any consequence for next week. But or for I guess for tomorrow. So yeah, so that was fun. That has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but it's a good
Not at
story.
all. Shiny things.
Not really. I mean, it's how you are. It's how I'm running a business
Yeah.
and setting expectations with my clients, which sometimes are young, little people. The adults that are 50, 60, 70 years old, it's much harder to go. If you keep playing that middle C wrong instead of C sharp, you got to give me 50 push-ups. They're just looking like, no, I don't. It's like I haven't done a
Nice.
push-up in 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a different tactic with them, but we have a different type of relationships than I do with the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds that are got more energy than they know what to do with.
There's a business.
Yeah.
Bottling toddler energy. Figure out how to do that one.
And give it to adults.
Yes.
I actually told a kid that last week. I'm like, you keep this up as long as you can, because just one day it disappears. And she's like, oh, like when I'm a grown up? I'm like, all right, this is from a 10-year-old. It was really cute. I'm like, yes. So when you're a grown up, you have the energy.
All right. So let's just kind of recap then. So when it's time to execute, time to go to work, got to spend time and you got to schedule it out. You got to schedule time to work. Sorry, it's a business. You have to work. You got to schedule some time to run the business, to take care of the operations, and definitely got to figure out how to amplify. And we're going to talk a lot about that next week. The good news about amplification, you don't have to do that all yourself. You can engage other people to help you with that. So that's one where you can definitely leverage your time a lot. So we'll get into that in great detail next week. Please attend that show because that is, well, I think it's one of the most important things it is, and it's fun for me to talk about. So,
which is good because I'm ready to learn how to amplify myself.
Are you willing to amplify yourself?
Oh, I am. That's why I'm out here doing this. The amplification process has begun.
Yes, it has. So, like we say every week, we'd love to have people come on as a guest. And if you don't want to come on as a guest or you don't feel prepared for that yet, but you have questions, by all means, comment, send us an email, reach out to us. We're here to help you. We're here to give you our advice for what it's worth. And yeah, if you have a question, please reach out and we'll address it on the show if we're able to. And again, like I said, if you want to become a guest on the show, we'd love to have you. So,
yes, definitely. We totally would love to have you as a guest. The link will be in the description below. If this new way of looking at your entrepreneurial goals and the way to reverse engineer and choose and work, has connected with you in any way, can you do us a huge favor? If you're watching on YouTube, can you hit subscribe and in the comments leave us a comment about or a question about something that a topic you'd like us to cover on the show, or any question you're currently or a challenge you're facing in your business. We'd love to discuss it on the show. If you're listening to the audio only show on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Music, leave us a quick review. Help us reach more entrepreneurs and small business owners. We're here to help. Stop playing small, because ideas don't work until you do. So
Absolutely.
thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Sounds good.
Ciao.
Bye.